Good evening and welcome to Inside City Hall for Tuesday, September 30th, 2025. I'm Bobby Kuza in for Errol Louis. We are less than a month away from the start of early voting, which begins on October 25th. And in addition to choosing a new mayor this election, New Yorkers will also be voting on several ballot measures that could change how the city approves new housing projects. While mayoral candidates Andrew Cuomo and Curtis Sliwa have made it clear this week that they're on opposite sides of the issue, Democratic nominee Zohran Mamdani has yet to say how he will vote on the divisive referenda. Our Bernadette Hogan has the latest from the campaign trail. Good evening, Bernadette.
Good evening, Bobby. And housing really has been the main topic that politicians not running for City Hall have been talking about. Governor Kathy Hochul, Speaker Adrian Adams, and even Mayor Eric Adams have promised to build hundreds of affordable housing units all across the city. Now there's some ballot proposals on the docket. New Yorkers will have to decide, and they could change the makeup of the city in the future.
These are proposals New Yorkers deserve to vote on.
Developers, realtors, they don't care about the outer boroughs.
There is no project that I did as governor where there wasn't opposition.
Besides electing the new top dog at City Hall in November, New Yorkers will need to decide if they want several proposed housing-related changes to the city charter. One would fast-track applications in neighborhoods that typically don't produce a lot of affordable housing. The second would simplify the review period of modest amounts of additional housing. And lastly, another would create a new affordable housing appeals board to review city council actions.
We think they're very destructive.
It's being pushed by Mayor Eric Adams, but opposed by a bipartisan group of lawmakers, like City Council Speaker Adrian Adams, who argue the changes would weaken the City Council's legislative check on the mayor, silence public input, and largely benefit wealthy developers at the expense of neighborhoods outside Manhattan. Supporters like Andrew Cuomo say these proposals would help shave bureaucracy that's stymied housing construction.
It's hard for the political process to do something where there is opposition. And that's why I think you can't allow one council person a veto on a project.
Past projects have died thanks to opposition from individual members, like a blood bank on the Upper East Side. And the Bally's Casino project in the Bronx was first rejected by the council after Republican council member Christy Marmorato said she wasn't on board. Mayor Adams later overrode the veto and the plan was approved.
You will get nothing done. If I only did projects that every assemblyman and senator signed off on, I would have done nothing.
GOP nominee Curtis Sliwa thinks voters should reject what he describes as a giveaway from Adams to wealthy developers who have no interest in preserving communities.
And Eric Adams, in 2025, tried to take all the power back to City Hall. So what do these charter revision questions, as they're called 2, 3, and 4, mean? It means zoning, forget about it.
Warning:
There's no zoning anymore. You're a developer, you're a realtor. The price is right, let's face it.
But frontrunner Zohran Mamdani stalled when asked where he stands.
That this will be a decision that New Yorkers will take, and I am having active meetings with a number of stakeholders to better assess what the impacts and implications this would portend for housing supply, housing construction.
Mamdani's campaign promises to make the city more affordable goes hand in hand with making housing cheaper and building more. He will likely have to rely on millionaires and wealthy developers to deliver his goals, groups that he's been critical of that stand to benefit from these ballot proposals.
I'll share my opinion on the proposals after having those meetings.
Morgan. And meanwhile, an Adams ally, Brock Pierce, he's trying to draft Adams back into the race, get him to go back on his decision to drop out. He's actually donated about $1 million to a pro-Adams super PAC, and he held a press conference earlier today.
Right, so he's a cryptocurrency investor, right, longtime supporter of Adams. He's basically trying to draft him back into the race and saying, hold on a minute, we want him to be the guy, and it's actually Cuomo and Sliwa that should unite behind him.
Exactly, and Brock Pierce, he's taken Adams to Puerto Rico on his private jet. He says that Adams paid him back in the past. But it's interesting because Brock Pierce also was not a resident of New York City. He can't vote in this election. He's registered or not registered, but he lives in San Juan. When asked whether or not the mayor will consider what he said, He said, the mayor's been receptive to what he's been saying, but wouldn't give a commitment.
We just got a new Zohran Mamdani ad that just dropped today, I believe. Talk to us about that.
So it's his first ad buy for the general election, and the Mamdani team is very good at social media. It depicts people on their phones. They're watching Mamdani in different areas. You'll zoom into somebody watching it on their phone, and then it goes to the TV screen. Very creative, I suppose. But we probably will see more ad buys from Mamdani. We already put $35,000 on an ESPN ad we just learned. He said it's part of, or his team says it's part of a 7-figure ad buy. But, it depends on where. Mamdani has a lot of money, so it depends on where else they decide to spend ahead of the November general.
All right, Bernadette Hogan, thank you for that report. And now that he's not running for re-election, Mayor Adams is now he's saying he is not saying who he is supporting in the race for mayor. But that's not the case for his top deputy, Randy Mastro, who said today that he's supporting Andrew Cuomo. Our Kelly Mena joins me now with that part of the story. Good evening, Kelly.
Good evening, Bobby. And for some people, that might not be a surprise. Former Adams supporters have to jump to a camp now if they're set to defeat the Democratic frontrunner Zohran Mamdani. The latest one to jump over to the Cuomo camp was First Deputy Mayor Randy Mastro.
I'm going to vote for a Democrat. I'm going to vote for Andrew Cuomo.
Even though Mayor Adams called Cuomo a, quote, snake earlier this month, his top deputy is declaring his support for the ex-governor. First Deputy Mayor Randy Mastro made the endorsement at an event focused on the mayor's legacy.
I would say he made sacrifice because he saw an existential crisis coming for the city.
Despite being a fellow Democrat, Mastro said the party's nominee, Zohran Mamdani, is not the right person to head the city.
We had a mayor that was the product of the Working Families Party and the Democrat Socialists. Didn't work out very well. We have certain strong views about certain international issues that divide this city, where we have the largest Jewish population of any city in the world. And then we have free everything when he can't deliver on those free things at all. Many of them are at a state level.
The endorsement is a break from Mayor Adams, his boss, who has been quiet since dropping out of the race on Sunday afternoon. Adams had these harsh words for Andrew Cuomo earlier this month.
Andrew Cuomo is a snake and a liar.
The New York Post reported Tuesday that the mayor is considering endorsing Cuomo or Republican Curtis Sliwa in the race. For Mastro, he said the decision is about someone who will continue the work of the Adams administration and not tear it down. At the event at New York Law School on Tuesday, Mastro gave a laundry list of items he believes are successes, including bringing crime down, boosting the creation of housing, focusing on helping New Yorkers with severe mental illness, and helping thousands of newly arrived migrants. Mastro had this to say about the mayor's legacy.
He made some mistakes and he trusted some people he shouldn't have trusted. But at the same time, he has delivered in remarkable ways. It's a remarkable record of achievement. So when I say history will be kind about the achievements of this administration, I don't think there's any question about it.
And we did reach out to Zohran Mamdani's campaign about this endorsement of Cuomo and the criticism that Randy Mastro lobbed against him. This is what his campaign said in response. New Yorkers deserve better than trading one disgraced, corrupt politician in Eric Adams for another in Andrew Cuomo. It's time to turn the page on the broken, billionaire-backed politics of the past and elect Zohran Mamdani, who will deliver a more affordable New York City. That's his response to those criticisms, Bobby.
So we don't know exactly what the mayor is going to do. He did give one interview today where he said something like he's inclined toward Cuomo, but I don't know if we're going to see some kind of endorsement given the fact he just called him a liar and a snake like about 3 weeks ago.
Yeah, that's right. And he was very strong and forceful about those words. He also called him silver spoon and a spoiled brat at the time. So it's kind of hard to come back from that and then support somebody and stand alongside them going into this general election. We'll have to see if he does endorse somebody. He said in that same interview that whoever he throws his weight behind, it's a very serious endorsement, and he wants to make sure that it's the right decision for him. I did reach out to the Cuomo campaign. They said as of now that they haven't heard from anybody anybody in the Adams camp. But we should mention that Frank Carone, who was with the mayor before he dropped his bid.
Former chief of staff.
Yeah, and his former chief of staff, very close, confident advisor, and really friend to the mayor, is now working for Andrew Cuomo. So that might be the link there, and that might be where everything might be starting, Bobby.
All right, Kelly Mena, thank you for that report. It is time now for a break. Coming up, we will talk about resiliency in the race for mayor. We'll tell you how the candidates plan to tackle the issues straight ahead. And later tonight, we will bring you political anchor Errol Louis's one-on-one conversation with Andrew Cuomo, where Cuomo talked about the mayor's decision to drop out of the race and what it means for his campaign. Stay with us. We are back in a minute. Welcome back to Inside City Hall. With Election Day approaching, every Tuesday we're taking a look at some of the biggest issues facing the city. And today we're looking at resiliency. It's been 13 years since Hurricane Sandy, and the issue is getting little attention in the mayor's race. Our Dan Rivoli joins me now with more on where the candidates for mayor stand on protecting New York from extreme weather. Good evening, Dan.
Good evening, Bobby. You're right. Climate and resiliency are not big issues on the campaign trail, but it is an important one for the next mayor, who will inherit billions of dollars in coastal and storm flood resiliency projects. These plants and flowers are more than just pretty-looking flora.
So this is green infrastructure.
Julie Tai is president of the New York League of Conservation Voters. Landscapes like this one in Lower Manhattan absorb stormwater from rising coastal waters and flash floods. Sudden and intense rain bursts that overwhelm the sewer system.
It eventually absorbs into the ground, so it helps to prevent flooding.
But projects like this are getting no attention on the campaign trail for the mayor's race.
I think that we need to be demanding from all the candidates who are out there to start talking about what they're going to do to protect New York City from the next Superstorm Sandy.
The candidates do have some ideas and records on resiliency projects. The New York League of Conservation Voters held a forum on the environment during Democratic primary season. The league endorsed Andrew Cuomo and Brad Lander in the mayoral primary. It's made no endorsement in the general election. Zohran Mamdani, now the Democratic nominee, has proposed turning 500 schoolyard blacktops into green spaces.
What we need to do is design more floodable parks. Design parks that can actually absorb the kind of rainfall that we know is imminent.
New York has to be the state that stands up and says once and for all, we have to do more and we have to do it faster.
Andrew Cuomo, here as governor, oversaw the recovery from Sandy. The recovery put billions of dollars towards resiliency work, like these 20-ton bronze floodgates at the Hugh Carey Tunnel. His campaign says any infrastructure work under his administration needs to double as a resiliency measure. He'll get it done because he's got it done.
It is just water everywhere.
Curtis Sliwa, a Republican, expects heavier rains from climate change. He wants to get back to basics, like properly cleaning out sewers and catch basins.
There's an accumulation of garbage. The catch basins, which were originally constructed to absorb the overflow, are not capable of even dealing with a dribble of water.
This month, the Adams administration broke ground on a $218 million coastal resiliency project in Red Hook. Whoever wins in November will inherit these projects.
We saw that with Sandy, right? New York City is vulnerable to sea level rise, to coastal flooding, and they need to make sure that that's happening.
And be responsible for their progress. Mayor Eric Adams, now no longer running for re-election, does have a record on resiliency projects. $1.5 billion in resiliency projects were launched under his 4 years at City Hall, and a City Hall spokesperson said that resiliency efforts would be the cornerstone of his administration. Bobby.
And some of these projects are so enormous that they span more than one mayoral administration. But tell me why you think this hasn't been a bigger issue in the mayor's race. I mean, obviously, housing and affordability kind of top the list when it comes to voter concerns, but I haven't heard much about this at all.
Exactly. Look, I think here in New York, Democrats, the consensus among them, the Democrats who run New York, is that the climate has changed, is changing, and there is already work to address it with these resiliency projects. We're 13 years removed from Hurricane Sandy when we realized we have to do more to gird the coast against coastal flooding. We're a few years out from Hurricane Ida, where we saw fatal basement flooding. Now the issue is turning towards capturing that the storm water from those flash floods that can overwhelm the sewer system. And you see projects happening all around the city, in different boroughs, where they're putting in this greenery to kind of absorb that water. So it seems things are happening, and a lot of the campaigns are aligned on that as well.
Right. All right, Dan Rivoli, thank you so much for that report. Meanwhile, we are continuing our neighborhood tour across the boroughs ahead of Election Day. New York One recently spent the day in the Tottenville neighborhood of Staten Island. Voters sounded off about traffic, affordability, and preserving the suburban character of the neighborhood on the southern end of the borough. Our Ayanna Harry has more in this report.
In a loud, chaotic city of 8.5 million people, this quaint, quiet neighborhood offers a breath of fresh air, literally.
It's that old town feeling where everybody knows who you are, everybody knows what's going on. It's Main Street, USA.
Tottenville on the south shore of Staten Island. The manicured lawns, American flags, and even the wild turkeys are all part of the local charm.
I want this character to remain the way it is.
Suburban character isn't the only reason Tottenville stands apart. When it comes to registered voters in the city, Democrats outnumber Republicans by about 6-1. But in Tottenville, Republicans are in the majority. Assemblymember Mike Riley.
Staten Island in general, it leans more of the conservative boroughs. That doesn't mean that they're not open-minded and listen to what other people are saying. The issue is that we're the minority that's not being heard.
President Donald Trump improved his already strong appeal here by almost 5 percentage points between the 2020 and 2024 elections. And with a heated race for mayor now underway, the voters we met on Main Street were ready to weigh in.
Well, I just pray that a Republican wins, because if Mandami wins, if I'm saying his name right, we're in big trouble.
I'm not a socialist. I'm a staunch Republican.
And when it comes to the agenda for the next mayor, Tottenville voters had a list of local issues they'd like to see addressed.
One thing I don't want them to do is to put the low-income housing in Tottenville, for sure.
Well, there's some overcrowding that's going on. They're building certain buildings that are causing extremely amount of traffic.
You have a community here that has a lot of police officers, firefighters, civil servants, right? Middle working class families. And the drain on their pocketbooks, being able to really survive, is impacted by congestion pricing.
For generations, Tottenville has been a place where working and middle-class families have been able to afford a home of their own. But many fear that dream may be slipping away.
It's very hard for new couples to purchase homes.
We're losing the next generation to other neighborhoods, primarily in New Jersey, because our children can't afford to live here.
For the last century, Frank Scarangello's family business has survived and even evolved here in Tottenville. Most of his employees are Staten Island natives now commuting in from across the river. Scarangello hopes for the 111th mayor of the city, Staten Island is not a forgotten borough.
We're not going to stop banging the drum to say we need some attention. And the next mayor is going to have his work cut out for him, just rebuilding the trust.
In Tottenville, Staten Island, Ayanna Harry, New York One.
It is time for a break. Coming up, we are closing in on the midnight deadline to avert a government shutdown amid a lack of progress toward any deal. We will bring you a report from Washington, D.C. next. Stay with us. Welcome back to Inside City Hall. Time is running out to avoid a government shutdown at midnight. Both sides in Congress are digging in on their demands and are unlikely to reach an agreement in time. Spectrum News national political reporter Evan Kozlov has more from Capitol Hill.
There is not a lot of optimism here on Capitol Hill as we seem primed for a shutdown when the clock strikes midnight. President Donald Trump also signaling that a shutdown might be on the way.
Nothing is inevitable, but I would say it's probably likely.
A shutdown was all but assured after President Trump hosted top congressional leaders at the White House on Monday, but no progress towards a deal was reached. And just hours later, the president shared this online, a controversial AI-generated video. House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries calling the video racist and fake.
When I'm back in the Oval Office, say it to my face.
This is ready to pass right now.
Senate Republicans are urging Democrats to agree to stopgap legislation adopted by House Republicans that would fund the government into November at mostly current levels.
We can pass this today. Pass it right now. All we have to do, get support from the Democrats.
The leader says it's a clean bill. It's a partisan bill.
But Democrats are demanding concessions on health care, including an extension of subsidies that help millions of Americans pay for insurance under the Affordable Care Act, as well as a rollback of the major cuts to Medicaid that were included in the president's sweeping policy bill that he signed into law in July. On Tuesday, Democrats blasted House Republicans for not coming into session despite the looming deadline.
House Democrats are on duty. House Republicans are on vacation. Amen. Shame on them.
The prospects of a shutdown alarming federal workers. Essential workers will not be paid until the shutdown is over, and non-essential workers will face the threat of furloughs or worse.
The Democrats want to shut it down, so when you shut it down, you have to do layoffs.
The president threatening mass firings if they can't strike a deal.
A lot of good can come down from shutdowns. We can get rid of a lot of things that we didn't want, and they'd be Democrat things.
And among the workers that would be forced to work without getting paid are FBI agents, air traffic controllers, and even members of the armed forces. They would only get paid once the shutdown is over. Reporting here on Capitol Hill, I'm Evan Kozloff, Spectrum News.
It is time now for a break. Coming up, we will bring you Errol Louis's wide-ranging conversation with Andrew Cuomo in Manhattan yesterday. He weighed in on Mayor Adams' decision to drop out of the race, as well as how President Donald Trump has loomed large over the race. Stay with us. Welcome back to Inside City Hall, where we turn our focus back to the race for mayor. With less than a month to go until the start of early voting and the contest now a three-man race, political anchor Errol Louis caught up with former Governor Andrew Cuomo for a wide-ranging interview, which included his reaction to Mayor Adams dropping out, what it means for his own campaign, how to deal with the city's affordability crisis, and much more. Here's the first part of their conversation.
Good to see you. Thanks for spending some time with us.
Thank you.
When did you find out yesterday about the mayor not continuing in the race?
Literally when he made the announcement.
And you weren't, were you surprised?
I wasn't surprised. It had been talked about for several weeks, right? And there were reports on conversations that he was having with various people. So I wasn't totally surprised. I didn't know where and when, so that was surprising, but not in general.
You had laid out some of the political logic behind him leaving the race, I think about a month ago. The dynamics didn't really change in the succeeding few weeks, right?
No, but I do believe the ultimate calculus was what the mayor said it was. I believe it was sincere, that he believes Mamdani is an existential threat, and he wants to do everything he can to help stop Mamdani, and therefore he put his ambition aside for that purpose. I believe he is sincere in that, and I believe that is true. Both the mayor and myself are Democrats, and we do see Mamdani as an existential threat, not representative of the Democratic Party, hostile to the Democratic Party, a person who is dangerously inexperienced and could hurt this city.
When you say that, when you say existential threat and dangerous and so forth, are you saying at one and the same time that the record number of Democrats who came out to vote for him made a mistake?
No, I'm saying that first you get one turnout in the Democratic primary, right? It's a smaller turnout, and in this election you had an unusually large number of 20 to 30-year-olds vote, socialist members who he had spent time cultivating social media, to his credit, etc. I don't believe they are representative of New Yorkers writ large. I don't believe New Yorkers writ large will support Mamdani's positions when they understand what they are. They're not in favor of legalizing prostitution. They're not in favor of legalizing the drug trade. They're not in favor of abolishing jails. They're not anti-NYPD. They don't believe the NYPD is wicked and corrupt. as he says they are, and racist. Majority-minority police force, he calls them racist. That's not where New Yorkers are. They're not anti-business. They understand that we need business to run this city. And keeping business community strong is how you generate jobs and generate revenue, et cetera. So none of that came out in the primary era.
Is there a scenario where the system has a self-correcting feature, meaning in order to win votes, you change your positions, he changes his position, everybody changes their positions to try and get to wherever the voters might be, right? Doesn't that sort of change the equation a little bit?
Well, I think there are races where you will see a person shift subtly from a primary, which tends to be more on an extreme, to a general election. But I don't think you see Mamdani shifting. I don't think his people will allow him to shift. And that ideology, that dogma is very strong. He will not back off sympathizing with terrorists. I mean, he hasn't. He hasn't backed off on globalize the intifada, right? On the harshness with the NYPD, on abolishing jail. He hasn't backed off on any of it because I believe that is the base that he represents. And if you show any reasonableness, I think that Democratic Socialist group is offended. I mean, we saw AOC, who tried to moderate herself a little bit on the issue of Israel, and the backlash that she took.
Well, yeah, she got backlash. She didn't get their endorsement, and she went and got herself reelected, right?
Yes, but for him, their support, I think, is key.
Okay. I interviewed some of the leadership of the New York City DSA. I think they said they were very proud of this. They had just grown, due to Mamdani's success, to 11,000 members, which strikes me as a drop in the bucket compared to the number of volunteers on his campaign, and number two, the number of voters who were going to turn out in November.
Yeah, well, the members of the party, I think, are one thing, right? But there was, and there is, a whole youth movement all across this country, which is basically an anti-Trump generated no king movement, socialism movement, pro-Gaza movement, a lot of energy, Errol, in that issue, no doubt about that. So it's not just the members of the party, it was really the ideology. And again, he was very good on social media and communicated that to that group.
Mm-hmm. When I look at some of the numbers that are powering the anxiety that many voters feel, and we've been talking to them all around the city, you have a median household income in New York right now around $79,000. You have a median average rent. The median rent is something like $3,400. People have to give up more than half their gross income, on average, and that's the pain that a lot of voters are saying they're feeling, and they're desperate to get something done about affordability. What do you say to those people?
They're exactly right. What's interesting is that affordability issue is pressing in New York City, probably worse than the rest of the nation, but it is a nationwide phenomenon. And when you look back, wages have not kept pace with the cost of living. They just haven't. The minimum wage in this country, it hasn't gone up since 2009, Errol. So yes, there's a gap, there's an affordability crisis, worse in big cities, worse in New York. Interestingly, that's the nerve that Donald Trump touched to become president of the United States. It's the same nerve that Mamdani touches, that economic anxiety and anger. Yes, that's a problem. Yes, he's right, it's a problem. But his solution doesn't work. Freeze the rent, which is on 25% of the housing units in New York City, which are the rent-stabilized units, and does nothing for 75%. That doesn't work. That's de Blasio redux. De Blasio did that 3 times, by the way.
Sure, and the rents kept going up.
Yes, and it didn't work, So the answer is wrong. I'm saying the answer is you need to build more affordable housing. You have to increase the supply. You have 1% vacancy rate.
I saw in your plan you're calling for a city and state joint fund of about $5 billion to help spur development. Have you talked about that with Governor Hochul? Is that something you think she would support?
Oh, I think it's something that the legislature would be very interested in, and the governor also. But look, we are going to have an all-out effort like we haven't had in decades. This has got to be the mayor's top priority. It has to be run from the mayor's office. You have to get creative, find every vacant site in the city, find where there are air rights, partner with not-for-profits and churches, but we need to dramatically increase the supply of housing in a very short period of time. Go to the NYCHA units and put together not just reconstruction of the NYCHA, but also new construction, and make it a top priority, the way we did with LaGuardia Airport, the way we did with 2nd Avenue subway, right? All hands on deck, focus, 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 get it done.
When it comes to housing, though, and I think you saw this shortly after you left as governor, Kathy Hochul tried to spur some housing development, and it foundered on a million different localities all saying, we're not changing our zoning, we're not going along with this, we'll take you to court. And I'm sure you've seen that happens all over the city, even in the middle of this housing emergency. I've been talking with council members, and whatever project it is, it seems, it's just never quite perfect enough. And they're going to protest, they're going to sue, they're going to hold it up, they're going to try and vote against it.
Yeah, you are so right. That's why I think this charter provision is very interesting. There is no project that I did as governor where there wasn't opposition. LaGuardia Airport, worst in the United States of America. I announced I'm going to tear it down, build a new airport. People are opposed, saying it should be preserved for its historic relevance. It's New Yorkers. You propose something, someone is going to oppose it. And for a council person, if there's any opposition, the easy answer is no. No. Why should they sustain? Because there's no positive, because there's no one in that building yet. So it's only a negative. And it's hard for the political process to do something where there is opposition. And that's why I think you can't allow one council person a veto on a project.
So you're supporting passage of these charter?
Yeah, otherwise you'll get nothing done. Errol, you will get nothing done. If I only did projects that every assemblyman and senator signed off on, I would have done nothing.
It is time for us to take a break. Coming up, we will bring you part 2 of Errol's conversation with former Governor Andrew Cuomo. Stay with us. We're back in a minute. Welcome back to Inside City Hall. Before the break, we brought you part 1 of a conversation between political anchor Errol Louis and candidate for mayor Andrew Cuomo. The former governor weighed in on President Trump looming large over the race, the federal immigration crackdown, and why he thinks Trump has a point about challenges that cities across the country are facing. Here is part 2 of their conversation.
What would be your projection or wish as far as what Eric Adams does now? His former chief of staff, Frank Carone, told me yesterday he intends to support you. He wants to try and raise money for an outside group to support your candidacy. Have you talked with the mayor since yesterday?
I have not. I look forward to talking to him, but I have not. Obviously, his support would be great. Everyone's support, right? Democrats, Republicans, Independents. But more on a personal level, I just hope he's at peace with his decision. And my guess is he has to sit with it for a while.
When he, a few weeks ago, called you a liar and a snake, which are pretty harsh words even for New York politics, it sounded like he was referring to a pledge or a statement you'd made a number of months ago saying that you would not run against him. Is that what that was about?
I tell you the truth, I don't know what he was referring to at that time. I think it was a difficult period for him, but I really don't know what he was referring to, and I haven't spoken.
Well, what did change? Because again, you'd said a while ago, no, I'm not going to run against Eric Adams if he's seeking re-election, and then somewhere along the line you declared your candidacy.
Well, we got to a point where post-primary, I believe it was clear that Eric was not going to be viable against Mamdani. And that is actually what wound up coming to the forefront that the mayor himself recognized.
Why wasn't he viable, do you think?
I think that New Yorkers had come to a conclusion. I understand the situation that he went through with the indictments, etc. I think the arrangement he made with Donald Trump hurt him. I understand why he did it, but I think it hurt him very badly. And I don't think New Yorkers were going to recover from that.
When the president said publicly that if Mamdani becomes mayor, he basically will punish New York, that he will deprive the city of funds and so forth. We've gotten used to a lot of reckless statements from the White House, but that seems especially problematic.
Errol, people say President Trump is tough to figure out. He's not that tough to figure out. He tells you exactly what he's going to do. They want Mamdani to win. Two reasons. One, it would be great Republican politics. They could run all over the country, all over the state. These Democrats have lost their mind. They elected a socialist, communist, 33, has no experience, hates the cops, hates business. It would be a political bonanza. Number two, it would be a total justification for President Trump to come in here and say, I have to protect New Yorkers against this 33-year-old who has no idea what he's doing. It would be President Trump and Mayor Trump. And he would love to take over New York City, just the way he took over Penn Station, right? Just a few weeks ago. I think that's exactly what he would love to do, and that's the invitation, right? Now, he can do it without invitation. He did L.A. and Washington and Portland, etc. But it would be his best justification.
But doesn't that put you in an odd position? Because some of his rhetoric sounds like some of your rhetoric, saying Mamdani is extremist, he's an existential threat, and so forth and so on. You are suggesting this maybe as a reason that people should vote against him, right? I mean, it sounds very much like what we're hearing from the White House.
I don't think he should be elected. The president's point is that's why he would be usurping him, right? But these are the president's own words. He said, if he is elected, I will have to step in.
And then what do you make of ICE, the different raids, their presence at 26 Federal Plaza, something that's, a couple of blocks from City Hall, something that the next mayor is going to have to really try and figure out what to do. We've seen Eric Adams do whatever he's done. I think there's some quiet legal action, but nothing said publicly. How would you handle that?
Well, first, I would be very aggressive legally. I would challenge them on the law. When I was governor, I passed something called the Liberty Defense Fund that basically provided an attorney for someone who an undocumented person who was approached by the federal government. I would do all of that. That's not going to be enough. Sue Donald Trump. He gets sued 50 times before he gets out of bed. Doesn't really get his attention. I think this is political theater for the president. This is his point. Democrats don't know how to run a city. This is democratic chaos. Democrats let all these migrants in. Democrats have homeless people all over the streets. They have all these blue tents. There's crime, there's shooting, there's drugs. These Democrats are a mess. I have to send in federal troops because these Democrats, they just can't do it. That's what he's saying over and over and over again. And he picks cities that are demonstrative of that point. and he thinks it is resonating politically. But that's the same point he's making. I have to correct for these Democrats. That's what he's saying about New York also.
Does he have a point when he says that about New York?
Does he have a point that, yes. Have you seen urban areas decay, especially post-COVID? Yes, you have. Have you seen people move out of cities? Remote work, Zoom work, reduction in resources, increase in homelessness? Yes, you have. You go through Los Angeles, go through San Francisco, you see evidence, and that's what he's responding to, right? It's always a political calculus, and that's what he's looking at. That's why I'm trying to put forth an agenda that makes it clear that we have an affirmative agenda to move forward. It's about jobs and growing the economy, keeping businesses, growing businesses, getting businesses back, more police, because crime is a problem. I want to add 5,000 police, go back to the David Dinkins, safe streets, safe cities. And 5,000 police, 1,500 in the subways, and the affordability issue, build, baby, build. Build housing, create jobs, create apprentice programs. Let people see signs of success. You know, I love the physical manifestations of progress because not only do they enhance their purpose, but it's inspiring. You go through LaGuardia Airport now, you say, wow. You know,
yeah.
I didn't know New York could do this.
A visual marker of prosperity, absolutely. A final question. You now have the scenario that a few weeks ago you said you wanted, where one of the major candidates has dropped out. He has dropped out. Curtis Sliwa, while he got 28% of the vote when he ran 4 years ago, seems to be polling considerably lower, has gotten some political setbacks of his own. What's next for you? Is this going to work for you?
First, the question is what works for New Yorkers. I want people to understand what the issues are. What he is proposing, what I'm proposing. What his experience is, what my experience is. His qualifications, my qualifications. And let them make an informed decision. This is not a choice that should be made on TikTok, right? This is not about a tweet. We're talking about mayor of New York City.
Okay. We will see you out on the campaign trail. Thanks for spending some time. Good to see you.
It is time for a break. Coming up, the Metropolitan Park Casino proposal near Citi Field was approved in a key vote today. We'll bring you those details next. Stay with us. Welcome back to Inside City Hall. The high-stakes competition for 3 state gaming licenses is now moving on to the next stage. A proposed project near Citi Field got a key vote of support today. Our Courtney Gross has the details.
And I, Lorinda Hooks, vote aye. Yes.
The Mets season may be over.
That's looped into center field, and that'll fall for a base hit. Sanoja's.
But a proposal by team owner Steve Cohen to build a casino in the shadow of Citi Field has much better odds.
This is a real opportunity to turn this part of Queens, which some called the Valley of Ashes back in the day, to a cultural hub.
The proposal pitched by Cohen and Hard Rock, known as Metropolitan Park, was approved by a community committee on Tuesday, the final day to receive such approval in a multi-year process to get one of 3 gaming licenses being awarded by the state. The $8 billion project would transform the parking lots around Citi Field into a resort with a casino, theater, food hall, public park, and a new subway station. Despite the victory, Cohen's team behind the project declined to take questions on it following the vote.
I'm not doing any media today, but thank you.
The committee vote was unanimous in favor, despite the fact the local state senator in the area, who had an appointee on the committee, opposes the project. She urged the state to go with someone else.
My hope is that they will choose the project with the company and the CEO who has a good reputation, who has not been held accountable by the Securities and Exchange Commission.
In total, 4 casino applications will move on to the next stage of the licensing process. 4 were rejected by these local committees. The other 3 moving on include Resorts World in Queens, MGM Empire City in Yonkers, and Bally's in the Bronx. They now go to a state board who will assess the applications and make the final recommendation. The State Gaming Commission would then issue the licenses, making sure they all meet the required state criteria. The chair of the commission weighed in on Tuesday.
Some of the licensees or potential licensees that need to be looked at very, very, very seriously. Each one of us has an obligation to vote for as many licenses, and if that's none, that's none. As many licenses we think will serve the public interest.
Courtney Gross, New York 1.
That's going to do it for tonight's show. Thanks for watching, everybody, and have a great evening. We will see you the next time on Inside City Hall.